Welcome back to another podcast show. This is Raise Your Vibes, and this is Miriam Khan. Thanks for tuning in. Today's podcast, is going to discuss how sometimes we end up in relationships, partnerships, friendships, and unfortunately we come across stumbling blocks in our path where one individual has gone out of their way to lie and break our trust and break a lot of things as well, not necessarily physical attributes, but break hearts, break, patterns, break things we've built together, break foundations, breaking trust that we've established. And even if you've been with that person, whether it's, like I said, a friend, a loved one, someone you're married to, all of that can be destroyed within minutes, within seconds. Some of us will be in very, very difficult situations right now as I'm doing this particular podcast. We've all faced situations where our friendships have, melted away, broken away. And there are times when we do grieve over those friendships because of those scenarios. We say goodbye to some friends because they no longer serve us, they're no longer on the same path as us, they're no longer respecting our values and our traits and our boundaries. But the ones that really hurt are the ones that we've invested in more deeply. That is your loved one, that's your partner, husband, wife. When they betray us, it's a completely different realm, completely different type of disrespect, completely different type of trauma and pain and hurt. Now, as human beings, we've been sort of conditioned in many, many ways to forgive. And to forgive easily sometimes as well, over small matters. Sometimes we find it very difficult to forgive. And if we are able to forgive, we're not able to forget. All of you will be very, very different in this particular scenario. For some of you, it's a case of, once they've hurt you, you're done. You're out that door. See you later. Bye. Some of us, we have something called patience, endurance, and we come from a place of love where we understand why that individual has done what they've done. And these are the complex traits. These were the complex situations behind it. We were also putting ourselves in that person's shoes. We were looking at the implications. And sometimes we're able to forgive because we can comply, we can relate, we can understand. And then there are times when we're a bit of a doormat and the same person keeps doing the same thing to us over and over and over again. We cry about it, we weep about it, we tell our friends about it. And unfortunately, we end up almost being like the fairy tale or the story tale of, the little girl who cried wolf. Because it gets to a stage where some people will no longer support you anymore. They don't understand, obviously, that what you're facing is very traumatic. It's quite difficult. You're stuck. You're stuck in this revolving cycle and you can't break free. You keep trying. You keep trying to move forward. You keep trying to, detach. You keep trying to break free. But you can't because that person has a hold on you. When a loved one, someone that you've invested time with, someone that you've invested years with, someone that you've built foundations with, whether that's start of your relationship, the middle of your relationship, towards the end. You might have been with this person 2 weeks, 5 months, 20 years, 7 years, 40 years. And you think you have something solid, something built with titanium. And all of a sudden, the cracks appear. All of a sudden, the foundations of that lovely, lovely relationship you had have ebbed away and are broken and shattered. And no matter what you do to try and repair it, to try and put it back together, to try and forge something new and move forward, you might be one of those individuals that just simply can't. It's not because of your ego, it's not because of your pride, it's not because of anything negative, it's just you have more self-respect and love and compassion for yourself to say, I cannot do this. I do not deserve this. I am worthy of much more. There are times when we are manipulated back into such relationships. Sometimes, you have a threshold of, if you do this to me, I'm gone. If you do this to me, I'm gone. And there are times, like I said, where you are pulled back in. Those of you that have children, I'm sure you can relate to this. Or when you have financial ties, you can relate to this. Business ties, emotional ties. There will be certain events that keep pulling you back almost like a boomerang that doesn't let you escape. And sometimes you get to a point where you've invested so much headspace, so much emotion, so much empathy and sympathy that you get to a situation where you realise, you give yourself a bit of a wake-up call that the other individual actually isn't as invested as myself. You want your relationship to work, of course you do. You want your love, your compassion, your empathy. You want to be able to move forward. But if the other individual is not also putting the same effort in, the same love, the same respect, and is treating it like a game, you're done. That doesn't mean, for those of you that are listening, you just walk straight out, because it's not as simple as that. Sometimes you try really, really hard to explain to the other individual, these are the things you've done to hurt me. These are the things that you've gone out of your way to destroy. These are the foundations you've broken, and these are reasons why you've hurt me. When that other individual's not even taking any sense of, understanding, listening and actually saying, yeah, I take that on board, that's a quality I need to change. And instead, they whitewash it and change the ball game so that it's you at fault. Or they don't even acknowledge it. This is not someone that respects you. This is not someone that values you. This is not somebody that wants you in their relationship, and they don't want to work together as a team. If anything, they want to work for their own agenda and for their own goals, for their own ego. They're not supporting you. They're not helping you to grow. If anything, they're a weed. And the weed becomes heavier and heavier and heavier over time because it turns into lead. And we have to take ownership of that. We have to see our own part that we play in that particular situation. As I said, it is not simple. In words, perhaps so. In emotions and feelings and context of your scenario, it is not easy to do at all. We try our hardest to defragment ourselves, to not fight over materialistic things or families or children when you're going through a divorce or a separation. All you want is the other person to acknowledge the pain and the trauma and the hurt that they've caused so that you can move forward, that you can heal. Sometimes, unfortunately, that person won't give it to you. And we have to work on it ourselves. It takes time to let that go. It takes time to move forward and to, as a quote from Shakespeare, to thine own self be true. That is in itself a very, very difficult thing to do. Sometimes taking on the other individual's responsibility, whether they're a narcissist, whether just blatantly just don't care. We have to take that empowerment back ourselves. Do we really need that person to understand us? Yes or no? Is it really that important? Yes or no? All of us might go through that scenario where we feel so empowered that we must tell the other individual how they've hurt us. I get that. I totally get that, because it's you as a human being voicing your pain, voicing your anguish, voicing it to the person that needs to hear it all along. Not your friends. Of course your friends are supportive. Of course your friends are there to help you and they're there to support you. But it's the actual individual you're involved with. Sometimes, like I said, you might see change. It might surprise you. And in other cases, you realise that person is going to continue on this mass destruction of people's hearts, people's souls, people's time. These are all investments you can pour back into yourself. When we try to heal, when we try to move forward from such scenarios, it's not easy as well. You have things that come and trigger you. You have things that come and, hurt you again. And you have people thinking this is a game, that they can just manipulate and they can exercise their rights. And in the meantime, they're taking away yours. We all deserve much better than that. We all deserve love that's unconditional. We deserve friends that are respectful of our boundaries, of our time. And we also have to have people that support us in our decisions, no matter what it is that we are doing. Sometimes there's things that we'll do that are not right. Our friends will vehemently tell us this isn't right for you. But instead of walking away, instead of leaving you alone, they support your decision. They respect your decision. There's a difference. Same with a loved one. You can try, and sometimes you'll be banging your head against a brick wall. Sometimes you might make a breakthrough. And in a cathartic way, sometimes it's very helpful to just get off what's on your chest and explain how that other individual has hurt you. Sometimes that helps us to heal. And often it might not. It might cause more pain, and we have to be an adult about that. We have to take responsibility about that. If it means that we have to grieve a little bit and accept that that is over, so be it. If it means that we have to try and heal from that, there might be things that we don't like to hear about ourselves. We also have to embrace that. Perhaps there's things we have to change within ourselves as well. But whatever the scenario, don't let the other individual think that your time, your essence, your being, your soul is not important, because it is. Be kind to yourself as well. There are times when you can't sleep. Maybe you're not eating. Maybe you're not looking after yourself. It's very difficult to just look after yourself, whether that's getting a shower, getting dressed in the morning, going to work, being able to juggle. Sometimes we just struggle. We really do. And it's all about taking time out, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes of your day, meditating, talking to your, religious person in your life. Whatever it is that you believe in, whatever faith it is you follow, it could be that you need to just talk to friends. Maybe you need to just zone in with some music and zone out. Whatever it is that you do to help yourself, do it. But just remember, you have to start loving self again. You have to start loving you and loving yourself unconditionally and without any excuses. Unapologetically, you love yourself first. What other people do, what other people say, how other people try to hurt you is not in your control. Take back your empowerment, take back your heart, repair it, mould it back together again, heal it back together again, love it conditionally, love it incompletely. Don't allow other people to break it apart. One day, hopefully, something else will come along, something better. But till then, you've got to just try to focus on you and focusing on putting the units of yourself and in your heart and your soul back together again. And that can only be done when we really put ourselves back in the limelight. So wherever you are on your journey, look after yourself, be kind, be caring, be considerate. Because until we look after ourselves, we can't really look after anybody else. Thank you for listening. I'm wishing you peace and blessings on your journey to recovery. Much love. Take care. God bless. And thank you always for listening.